Okay, let's see. All right, let's see if everybody's here. See the participants. Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is Shaista Ali, as you all know it, and I am going to do a presentation on some of the great scientists, their lives and achievements, and their discoveries to make our lives better. Now, as we all know, due to COVID-19, we have to maintain social distancing. That's why we're doing this presentation on Zoom. Also, to let everyone know that this presentation is being recorded and will be available on YouTube. I will post the YouTube link shortly after the presentation. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to write it in the chat at the end of the presentation, or you can also type in the comment section on YouTube. Okay, so let's begin. Among the many great scientists, the three that I have chosen are Robert Boyle, Jacques Charles, and Gay Lussac. So let's begin with Robert Boyle. Robert Boyle was born into an aristocratic family on January 25th, 1627, in Lismore Castle in a small town of Lismore, Ireland. Robert was his parents' 14th child. In his infancy, he was sent to live with a poor Irish family. His father preferred his children to spend their early years this way, believing it toughened them up. Robert developed a stutter in this time. Robert's mother died when he was just 2 years old, and he never knew her. Sometime after his mother's death, he returned to the family home where he was tutored in French and Latin. He particularly enjoyed learning French. At a very early age, he became increasingly interested in carrying out scientific experiments and studying scientific literature. He equipped a lab in 1646-47 and also began traveling to London for meetings with his philosophical college, a group dedicated to experimental science and the exchange of scientific ideas. In 1654 or 55, when Robert Boyle was at the age of 27 or 28, Boyle moved to the university town of Oxford, England. He rented rooms and set up a laboratory. He never officially joined the university. He was so wealthy that he needed neither salary nor funding for his experimental work. In 1655, he met Robert Hooke, a young university student. Hooke's extraordinary abilities with mechanical equipment impressed Boyle, who began paying him to work as his lab assistant. Let's start with Robert Boyle's achievements. Boyle and Hooke carried out experiments to investigate the properties of air and the vacuum, making their first great discovery, Boyle's law. Boyle discovered that pressure multiplied by volume is a constant. In other words, when you increase the pressure on a gas, the gas's volume shrinks in a predictable way because they're inversely related. Boyle also discovered sound cannot travel through a vacuum. He did this by ringing a bell housed inside a 28-liter glass jar. The bell was rung with the help of a magnet outside the jar. In performing this experiment, Boyle also showed that magnetic forces can travel through a vacuum. Boyle had shown that physical forces could be transmitted across a vacuum. Furthermore, he showed light can travel through a vacuum because when the air was pumped out of the jar, everything in the jar remained perfectly visible. Using a candle, Boyle showed that a vacuum will not support combustion. He also found that only part of the air supports combustion which he thought was a very small part. He also stated that the movement of particles is responsible for heat. In 1675, Boyle discovered that electric attraction operates in a vacuum. He was the first person to write specific experimental guidelines for other scientists, telling them the importance of achieving reliable, repeatable results. Robert put chemistry on a firm scientific footing, transforming it from a field bogged down in alchemy and mysticism into one based on measurement. Boyle's law was the first gas law to be discovered. Over 100 years were to pass before the next gas law, Charles' law, was discovered in 1787. The second scientist I'm going to talk about is Jacques Charles. Jacques Alexandre César Charles was born in Beaugency, France, on November 12, 1746. He had a liberal education with no scientific focus. Charles was inspired to study physics in 1779 when Benjamin Franklin visited France. By 1781, he gave public demonstrations of his experiments and lectures. He made the first hydrogen balloon in 1783 with the help of the Robert brothers, and he was the first one to travel in a hot air balloon. In 1795, he was appointed as a resident member of the Académie des Sciences. Charles taught at the Conservatoire des Arts et Métiers. Now let's talk about Jacques Charles' achievements. Charles is best known for his studies on how the volume of gases changes with temperature. During the winter of 1787, Charles studied oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, and carbon dioxide and found that the volume of all these gases increased identically with higher temperature when the pressure was held constant. Charles was known to his contemporaries primarily through his contributions to the science of aerostation. Shortly after the balloon experiments of the Montgolfier brothers, Charles conceived the idea of using hydrogen, that is inflammable air, instead of hot air as a medium of displacement. With the aid of a pair of clever Parisian artisans, the brothers Robert, Charles developed nearly all the essentials of modern balloon design. On December 1st, 1783, Charles and the elder Robert ascended from Paris in their newly constructed Charlier. The two astronauts landed in a small village 27 miles from Paris, and Charles continued the voyage on his own 3 miles further. Apart from his experiments on gaseous expansion and his contributions to aerostation, he is usually attributed with the invention of the megascope, a device to magnify large objects. He also made an improved hydrometer and invented a goniometer for measuring the angles of crystals. Excuse me. The law, that is Charles' law, which bears his name, was discovered by him in about 1787, but it was first made public by another French scientist, Lussac. Let's talk about our third scientist, Lussac. Joseph Louis Lussac was a French chemist and physicist who pioneered investigations into the behaviors of gases, established new techniques for analysis, and his studies of the properties of cyanogen and iodine made notable advances in applied chemistry. Joseph Louis Lussac was born on 6 December 1778 in Saint-Léonard-de-Noblet. Born as a son of a successful lawyer, he had a privileged childhood, which was rudely disturbed during the French Revolution of 1789, following which his father lost most of his fortunes. The revolution also delayed his education. Initially, his father wanted him to become a lawyer, though the young boy had always been more interested in scientific pursuits. In 1801, Joseph Louis Gay Lussac became a research assistant to Claude Louis Berthollet, who was much impressed with his abilities. He collaborated with the eminent mathematician Pierre-Simon Laplace to conduct experiments on capillarity in order to study short-range forces. He also carried out research on the thermal expansion of gases in 1801-1802. Using dry gases and pure mercury in his experiments, he concluded that all gases expand equally over the temperature range 0 to 100 degrees Celsius, that is 32 to 212 degrees Fahrenheit. In 1805-06, he embarked on a European tour with the scientific explorer Alexander von Humboldt. On this expedition, they discovered that the composition of the atmosphere does not change with decreasing pressure. He also established that hydrogen and oxygen combine by volume in the ratio 2:1 to form water. He discovered the law of the combining volume of gases in 1808. He also investigated reactions between hydrogen chloride and ammonia, which combine in equal volumes to form ammonium chloride. He became a member of the Government Gunpowder Commission in 1818 and was appointed as director of the assay department at the Paris Mint in 1829, where he came up with an accurate method of the assaying of silver. He was also an inventor and is credited with the development of portable barometer, steam injector pump, and air thermometer. He created an improved version of the burette that included a sidearm in 1824 and coined the terms pipette and burette. He is best remembered for formulating the Gay-Lussac's law, which is used to refer to each of the two relationships which concern the properties of gases. The term is also applied to his law of combining volumes. The first law relates to volumes before and after a chemical reaction, while the second concerns the pressure and temperature relationship for a sample of gas. He was elected a foreign member of the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences in 1821. Gay-Lussac was made a peer by King Louis Philippe in 1839. His name is one of the 72 names of French scientists, engineers, and mathematicians engraved in recognition of their contributions on the Eiffel Tower. This concludes my presentation of the lives and achievements of the above three scientists. Thank you for being here, and please mention your questions if you have any in the chat below. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.